What if I went to places and I was aware somehow that there would be a fire within 10 years or 20 years. Many years from now, there will be a fire. And somehow I'm aware of that. And I go into those places and I shout, "Fire! Everybody get out! Fire!" And then I could explain that, well, there's going to be a fire there in 10 years, and I know it because I'm a scientist. Well, that's what the global warming warning is like. The science is true. It's going to happen eventually. If there's too much carbon dioxide, and we're going to get there eventually. If there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, global warming is going to eventually begin to occur. But shouting, "Fire! Everybody get out now!" Well, that would be very destructive because people would have a mass death atrocity immediately. If we stopped using fossil fuels immediately, then half the human population would immediately die, and it would be chaotic. So the scientists on both sides have something to declare victory about. Carbon dioxide, it will eventually cause global warming, and humans are putting a lot of it out. But as the Australian geologist, Dr. Robert Fagan, explained, and this was the answer to people who were wishing for a way to sequester carbon dioxide into stone. It's always happening on a global scale. The ocean, all of the single-celled organisms and a lot of other organisms are falling to the bottom of the ocean, and a lot of those organisms are made of calcium, and they also retain carbon in the form of calcium carbonate. Well, that's what they turn into. They turn into limestone at the bottom of the ocean. And so there's a giant conveyor belt that's taking carbon out of the atmosphere and sequestering it in limestone at the bottom of the ocean. And it's been doing that for hundreds of millions of years. And if ever there had been no carbon dioxide pollution, if you want to call it that, in the atmosphere, it's not yet pollution because global warming has not yet begun, by my calculations. So if you want to call it pollution, you might call it also fertilizing the atmosphere so that the forests can stay healthy, because as Dr. Robert Fagan, the Australian geologist, explained, that process of sequestering carbon dioxide was depleting the atmosphere of sufficient carbon content to keep the plants growing healthy. And in another several million years, maybe 10 million years or 20 million years, the Earth would have exhausted its supply of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And then the trees, the forests, the tallest forests would have turned into dwarf forests, a whole bunch of shrubs instead of giant trees. So that explained the true science of it, and it was true what they said, that eventually carbon dioxide will cause global warming, and it does have to be planned on a schedule at some point that we're going to have drastically less carbon dioxide emissions. So the Ford Model T is a more appropriate size of a car for the slow speed and the light weight of it. Instead of a multi-ton pickup truck or SUV, the Ford Model T is a much more appropriate motorized carriage for transportation. So everyone would have to move much slower and also live closer to where they work. All right, that's all for now.